right, let's get into the meat potatoes here of the U.S. Open. We bring in PGA Golf Pro, TV host of 18 Holes of Golf TV at the Swing Clinic. He does a lot of cool stuff on FanDuel, the Yes Network, and, oh, by the way, a little pin shot today. Let's talk to Jimmy Hanlin here on the Sam Bourquin Show. Jimmy, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Sam. How are you?
I'm good, but hey, how'd the pin shot? Where were you guys at today?
We were in Wadsworth today at a place called Pine Valley, which was kind of cool, Sam. We had a blind golfer event today, so we had 3 or 4 of the blind golfers from the event do pin shot. And I can tell you the guys that were blind today hit better shots than the guys that could see today. So it was fun to do. It was a good time.
That's awesome. I got to ask, just on a personal, selfish note, did Riz drop any F-bombs today?
No, Riz behaved himself.
Used to be good today.
I will tell you, we almost had a ball go in the hole, and it looked like his vertical was about 40 inches today. He was going nuts. And I couldn't see the hole because of a bunker, so I didn't know what he was doing. I thought it was right in the hole. And, man, I'll tell you, I don't know how old Riz is, but he took a few years off his life there because he was pumped. He was nervous. It was good.
Oh, that's funny. When I came in today, we have our a little staff meeting on Wednesdays, and who's on the show. We talk about this, that, and the other. And I said, well, Jimmy's nice enough; he's going to come on today. And one of our sales says, hey, do you remember when you did a pin shot at the Alliance Country Club, didn't you?
I did. We
okay.
did one I think it was on the 10th hole, really hard hole. It was right around the 10th hole.
Okay.
So it was hard hole.
You remember when that was by any chance?
Hey, it was probably maybe only a year or two ago. It was been in the last 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, because that's not far from where we're broadcasting here today. So the U.S. Open at Oakmont, and here we go. We're off and running bright and early tomorrow. I think the first group goes off at 6:45 a.m., and then they let them loose. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler has been an absolute machine, as you heard the great quote from Jim Nantz a couple of Sundays ago, and he put another notch in his belt as far as winning a tournament. Can anybody catch Scotty this weekend? And if it is a couple of golfers we should maybe keep our eyes on.
Wow, I'll tell you what. I mean, his odds I think was plus 275, which is about as low as I've ever seen for a major championship. That's how good he is. And this golf course plays into his game, right? I mean, he drives it straight, and that's a big thing you need to be able to do here. He's a great iron player. And I don't know if anybody's a good putter at Oakmont, Sam. I mean, the greens are so difficult there. Everybody will be so defensive on this golf course. I mean, over par is probably going to win this tournament. And so he is great. There's a few guys, one guy that I think that's, an A player but hasn't played well as of late, John Rahm, drives the golf ball really, really well. Another one that drives it really good. So I think that he's somebody you got to watch out for. I really do think the two Kent Staters, Corey Connor and Taylor Pendrith, could do well. They both drive it straight. Really good players. Corey's a great iron player. So locally, I'm rooting for the Kent Staters. I'd really like to see them play well for sure too.
Oh, no doubt. Plus, we have a young man, Maxwell Moldovan, not that far from here. He went to Green, played at Ohio State, picked up his first pro win at a Brazil tournament not that long ago, a couple of months ago. He's got an early tee time, and of course, we're pulling for anybody local in the U.S. Open. That's a great story, no matter what they do, just to get there. I mean, he qualified 4 years in a row, and hopefully, maybe Max can make a little noise as well.
I love Max. I know Max's family, and I'm rooting for him with you, man. He's great. I know his dad. He's a golf pro and known him for a long time, and I'll be rooting for Max with you for sure.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. His wife's been caddying for him, and it's a really cool story. So you talked about the course, and I saw a quote, might have been Bobby Jones. I can't remember who it was, said some time ago that if you have a weakness, Oakmont will find it. It will bring you to your knees in certain places on that course. I looked at the forecast. It looks warm tomorrow and dry. Different story maybe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Who does that hurt the most, help the most as far as, if it softens up a little bit or if there's some wild weather coming?
Well, I think that, first of all, a big name obviously here is Bryson, right? And I talked about it earlier in an interview where, if Bryson thinks that he's going to hit driver and knock it down there and just gouge it out onto the greens, that just doesn't happen at Oakmont, right? It just doesn't. two friends of mine, Devin Gee and Bob Ford. Bob Ford's one of the most famous club professionals in the history of the game, and Devin took his place. He's now the head golf professional at Oakmont, and I know them both well. And I've read some stuff that both of them have said. It's like, listen, you have to get it in the fairway at Oakmont. There's just no way around it. And so I think Thursday, Friday is going to be very difficult because it's going to be firm and fast. It hasn't rained there in about 4 or 5 days, and the golf course is drying up, and they're getting some winds. And so you better be able to keep it in the fairway. So I think if you're doing your pools, you want to go look at overall driving of the golf ball and who does it well. And Harris English is a guy. He's 100-1. I think you could look out for him. He drives it really well. People are on Tommy Fleetwood because he drives it really well. But then, as you said, the weather could change the whole thing. Saturday, Sunday gets a little wet. They don't have to worry about the ball bouncing. They'll be able to fire at pins a little bit more. And then it kind of opens it up to everybody, right? So it could be a little bit of both, right? Could be that first 2 days where it plays really difficult and then gets a little easier as the golf course gets softer. And then I think, you can look at a Bryson or somebody that, that doesn't, if nobody's hitting fairways, it kind of evens the field up a little bit there and could change in the middle of the golf tournament. But, I think for me, for day 1, day 2, I'm really going to look at guys that can keep it in play.
No doubt. Jimmy Hanlin, our guest, PGA Golf Pro. Check him out on X at Jimmy Hanlin, kind enough to give us a few minutes here on 1310 WDPN, the Sam Bourquin Show. You mentioned Harris English, Keegan Bradley, Tommy Fleetwood. That's a nice little group at 7:18 tomorrow. And then what was the other one we were talking about? Matsuyama goes at 7:18. Oh, Bryson and Xander at 7:29. That's a good little threesome there. We talked about Oakmont. Jimmy, over the years, over the decades of the U.S. Open, is there a favorite course of yours that you really enjoy that particular Open at that track that year?
I love Pinehurst number 2. I lived there for 8 or 9 years. I've played it many, many times. I love the challenge of the golf course and the lies and the greens, and I've always loved it. And Oakmont's right there. I grew up in Steubenville, so I've been fortunate enough to play Oakmont a lot growing up. It's changed over the years. They cut down all the trees, and they've really changed the golf course. But I've always thoroughly enjoyed Oakmont. Really, probably, truthfully, two of my favorites. Pinehurst last year and Oakmont this year are two of my favorite golf courses to play. And I think they're two of the most difficult open venues that you're going to play. Again, I think in some way they're similar. The greens are very difficult and you have to keep it in play. But in some ways they're a little different. And going over to Pittsburgh too, there's not a lot of flat lies in Western Pennsylvania, right? So add that on top of, firm, fast greens. The green speeds will probably be at 14 or 15. It's going to be pretty amazing.
I was reading a story yesterday, and you just mentioned about back in the 90s, they cut down an incredible amount of trees. And I guess there was some give and take, some pushing and shoving. Some said, no, we don't want these trees taken out. Some did. And I guess a couple times they were taking trees down in the middle of the night. I mean, what was going on there with the change at Oakmont and what people liked about it and what a different group of people said, no, we want to go this direction.
Well, change, right? I mean, that's never good with people. People hate change. So I think that's part of it. But, that's kind of the new thing in golf courses, right? I mean, people, they want to get rid of trees. It's better for the turf, right? It's better to be able to grow grass, without the trees in the shade. And it's kind of, they go back to the original, the original look, right? Originally what the golf course looked like when it was first built. And I think that's where a lot of these groups go, right? I mean, a lot of these country clubs go. I mean, there's a lot of places around Cleveland and Canton that have done the same thing. And I think that's really something that, Oakmont did, here, Pepper Pike here in Cleveland did. A lot of places have done it. Beachmont's currently doing it right now, taking out a bunch of trees. And again, I think, turf-wise, taking it back to its original look, a lot of those things add into what they're trying to do for sure. I will tell you, though, Sam, it's funny. I've got some boots on the ground there. I'm not going to go there till later this week. But a couple of my camera guys that work for me on the shows, they're working the Open for ESPN.
Oh, great.
And I've got a couple other friends of mine that work for the Steelers radio network that are there all week with the hospitality. And they both said it's kind of funny. They see all these rough mowers, but they don't see any clippings going, right? They keep looking like they're mowing the rough.
Right.
It doesn't seem to get any lower. They just seems to be standing it up, and there's no grass clippings coming. So I laugh when I see the news stations like ESPN and Golf Channel reporting that they're having to cut the rough at Oakmont, because from the people that I've talked to that have been there all week, that hasn't happened.
Mention that. Jimmy Hanlin, our guest, PGA Golf Pro, joining us on the Sam Bourquin Show, 1310 WDPN. We're breaking down the U.S. Open at Oakmont. Again, the first group on the tee tomorrow at 6:45 a.m. And boy, some great threesomes, and it should be some great theater all weekend long up at Oakmont. Jimmy, our son Dylan is playing in an NEO tournament, golf tournament that they have over at Arrowhead. And he plays, he does a lot of stuff at the first tee. He's lettered 3 years at high school, coming back for his senior year. And we don't know where this is going to go. I mean, yesterday he dropped on me. He wants to be a pilot. So golf that's probably going to go out the window at some point. But just for some moms and dads and maybe some golfers listening, we've watched the greats. We've watched Arnold Palmer. We've watched Jack Nicklaus. We've watched Seve, Gary Player, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, all the guys that are doing it right now. What advice do you usually give to the players or maybe parents of players to just, besides the continuous practice regimen, what are some of the key things that you have to do when you want to just constantly improve your game and someday maybe get on the PGA Tour?
Well, Sam, I would say, first of all, you got to love it, right? I mean, that's really where it starts for me, is that you can't push kids into it. You got to let them decide on whether they love the game or don't love the game. You put it in front of them. You give them every opportunity that you can give them to be successful, but you can't push them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've just seen so many kids get burnt out. But then on the other side of that, you do give them the opportunity, and kids fall in love with the game at different times, right? I have 3 boys,
mm-hmm.
And my oldest name's Hogan, and he doesn't hardly play at all. My middle son, Palmer, didn't pick up the game until he was probably 13, 14, and he's a good player now, but he wasn't into it early, basketball and baseball and all that. And then I have a little guy now, and every time we walk out of the garage, he just wants a golf club and wants to go hit it, right? And
that's awesome.
So Jake is just, he just seems to love it, and maybe that'll last 2 years, maybe that'll last 20. You just never know. And so that's I've always just been of this school of just give them the opportunity, but don't push them. And I think they'll tell you whether it's the right game for them or not.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Jimmy, I really appreciate you coming on and talking a little U.S. Open with us today. Have a good time over at Oakmont. I hope it's a great tournament. I hope we got a little drama late Sunday afternoon, and we appreciate the time as always. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sam.
You got it. Jimmy Hanlin, PGA Golf Pro, joining us here on the Sam Bourquin Show, 1310 WDP.